Well, there you have it, Board Game Maniacs. That is the Dwarf from the remake of the HeroQuest game for 2021. Well, hello, Board Game Maniacs, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Painting with the Maniac. This is to go along with the Adventure Saturdays that we have, where we are preparing to play HeroQuest, the 2021 edition. If you haven't checked out all of our other HeroQuest adventures that we played from the core game way back when, we played through all of the first box set, and I think the second box set too as well. You can check them out into the playlists, into the background, or you can just continue on watching this. First off, I want to say thank you very much to everybody who showed support into the last video for Painting with the Maniac, the HeroQuest Barbarian. I got a lot of feedback onto it, a lot of people liked it, so I figured might as well just continue doing this. Now, I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but it is going to be released sometime during this month. It may not be on the Saturday, and if you're not sure about why it's not being released there, again, our schedule is all over the place right now. You can just go back to the channel update for 2022 and I'll explain everything there. I'm not going to go in detail about it. But anyhow, you can see in front of us, we have the Dwarf. There was a couple of emails I got and a comment on some threads that I posted and some social media saying they would like for me to paint the Dwarf next. So that is what we're doing. We're going to be painting the Dwarf. Awesome. I really like the Dwarf. We're going to paint them with a series of different paints, such as like contrast paint and army paint, and you know, some washes and so forth. But anyhow, before we do that, let's compare the miniatures. I'm going to set up the old miniature from the original HeroQuest and we take a look at the size difference. Then we're going to look at his card. So just stand by. You can see that we have the original Dwarf, totally different pose, size is different. He's on the square base, he's on the round base. This is from the 2022 version or 2021 version. This is the original version, in case anybody is not sure. And you can see like the detail is still there into the old one, but I really do like that dynamic pose that is onto the newer Dwarf. But either way, I would play with either one of these because I think they're awesome. Nostalgia versus a newer nostalgia, I guess. That's going to be nostalgia. But you can see here, Brady has, he's very excited about to play this, but his, obviously, as you know, is a wizard, which we'll be doing in another video. But anyhow, you can see here with the Dwarf, I based him out in zenithal highlight, and I explained that in Painting with the Maniac series episode where I did the Barbarian. But, you know, it's a black rattle can, and then an angle such as like this for the gray, and then an angle such as this for the white to give you that zenithal highlight where the light is at its zenith peak or what have you. You notice I never painted any of my original HeroQuests. I don't know if I want to or not. Comment below and let me know if you think I should paint the original HeroQuest and if I should do videos on painting too as well, because I'd be interested into that. Alright, so let's move him out of the way and let's concentrate on this bad boy here. So before we go on any further, I just want to point out I didn't do any green stuff onto him or anything else. He is like he is when you get him in the body, and you can see there's like a little gap here. I've seen some other videos where people are saying, yeah, I want to put green stuff into it, but you know, he's glued. He can't come down, can't be pushed in any further. I tried it so many different ways, but you can fill this in. I'm not filling it in. I may fill it in later. Who knows, but I just want to get him painted. So just be aware, I do know about that gap. We may incorporate this into the paintwork. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that is the Dwarf that we're going to be painting. Let's look at his card first. The reason why I say let's look at the card first, because this is going to give us what color scheme we are going to be painting with, because I want to try to match this as close as possible. I may change up a little bit of colors, but for the most part, he's going to try to stay the same. You can see here he has like a metal face protector, I guess, and he has gold in the middle because, you know, dwarfs, they love their gold, the mines and everything. He has gold armor plating too as well. He's got some purple, really nice accents. His skin tone is a little darker than what the Dwarf is. Not the Dwarf, the Barbarian. So we're going to accommodate for that, and you can see he has a nice little gold. We don't see anything around the back of him what he looks like, but just from this you can pretty much assume what everything is going to be for the Dwarf, for the color scheme. And if I look it up here, if you know anything about HeroQuest, these are the same as the original HeroQuest cards, as in like the stats. So attack dice 2, defense dice 2, body starting point is 7, and mind is 3. Movement is 2 red dice. Starting weapon is a short sword, and starting armor is none. Now, I'm not sure if the Dwarf actually started with the short sword in the original. I'll have to check that out. That'd be interesting to double check. But anyhow, that is what we're going to try to accomplish today with him right here. So what we're going to do is get him in focus, and we're going to start painting. First off with the flesh. First color, like I said, we're going to be painting the flesh onto him, and we're going to be using Citadel's contrast paint for this. And it's Fire Slayer Flesh. Just make sure you shake this up because a lot of sediment can get down to the bottom of it, which will make things a lot of pain in the arse for you, as they say, or pain in the butt. I will try my best to keep everything on camera. It's going to be hard to do. Anyhow, so Fire Slayer Flesh is first, and the size brush, it don't really matter. Just use a small brush. The brush I'm using is a 0. You can see it's right there. It's kind of out of focus, but Christmas present, great. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint like his hands, his upper part of his arms, and his knees. Like that's all what's showing. And what I like to do is before I actually start painting, I'll look at the miniature to see like where I'm going to place everything down. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to start out on his arm right here first with the Fire Slayer Flesh. Can't even talk right now. Jeez. And a little bit on my brush tip. Just slowly going over it. And the reason why I'm using Fire Slayer Flesh is because in the card he has a darker complexion compared to the dwarf, the barbarian, and so forth. So again, I want to try to keep as close as I can to that color, and hopefully that will work. You know, because of the zenithal highlight that I put onto it, it's kind of showing up where the natural shade is going to be, or the recesses and so forth. So because of that, I really, really like doing the zenithal highlight, especially when using contrast paint, because it gives you more of an idea of where to place all the colors, like what type of color, if it's going to be a highlight, contour, or what have you. So all I'm doing here is I'm going over the Fire Slayer Flesh while it is still wet. And the reason why I'm specifically saying while it's still wet, because if you use contrast paint and you put another one on and it's very close to drying, you'll end up pulling off color that you already put down. So, and you have to spend more time to fix it up, and it's harder to fix with contrast paint. So I'd just be aware of that. It's better to apply this at all times when it's wet. So you can see there I'm just slathering it on. And I'm just going to keep continuing putting on all of the flesh tone of him, because, you know, it's only flesh tone. There's nothing like skilled for doing this here that I can really see. I just hit the mic, sorry about that. But, you know, like painting the nose area and his eyes. If I, by chance, go over with the flesh onto the parts where he's wearing the armor on his face and that, it's not a big deal. The reason why it's not a big deal is because this is contrast paint, like I said. And because it's contrast paint, if I make a mistake, just go back over it with a little bit of white and let it dry. And then, you know, Bob's your uncle. You can just fix them up where you messed up at. That's what I do. And I don't know if anybody else I want to say to, I'm rambling here, holy crap. I just want to let everybody know, just a cautionary tale, is I am not a professional miniature painter by no means. I'm still somewhat new to this hobby. When I say somewhat new to this hobby for painting miniature wise, because I never painted for, you know, my miniatures before when I was a kid. I was always into making monsters and that, and wanting to work in movies and everything. But that's where I learned a lot of my essential painting skills at, is because of painting, and I just transitioned over to doing miniatures. So again, I'm just going to continue doing this. I'll be back when this is all done, and I'll show you what it looks like. But remember, if you're wanting to put more than one layer of contrast paint onto a miniature, which is normal to do, you have to make sure that your layers are dry in between, or you're going to be lifting paint up, like I said. So once I'm finished this, I'll be back. Now that all of the flesh color is painted, you can see here, I did do kind of like 1.5 coats. 1.5 coats. What do you mean by that? Well, 1.5 coats pretty much is, I did the one coat, which you've seen that I was applying on camera, and then off camera, all I did is I took some more and I put it in areas, extra areas where it's going to be darker to kind of just help with the shadow boosting. But like his face, I never added more to it, just the one layer. So it's kind of like just this underneath part, like his underneath his legs, the back of his legs, the back of his arms, and so on like that, just to give it a little more tonal value, so it kind of folds into the recesses and the darkness as we go along with camera. There we go, better in focus. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add Cygor Brown. It is Citadel contrast paint again. And the reason why we're painting that is I was looking at the card while the contrast paint was drying, and you can see here he has some rope accents that are around his wrists. I never can really see it on the miniature anywhere else. So because of that, we are going to just paint the little bits of the rope accent that is around both his wrists to signify that, and then we're going to go on to the next color. For the rope color, the Cygor Brown, it is a darker brown, like I said, so it's going to help with showing the different contrast, so it's going to make it more interesting visually. So to do this, I got a little bit on my brush, and I have to be very careful not to get my big noggin in here while I am painting it, because if so, I'll have to do some white and go over it to fix it again, because I just screw up stuff. Yeah. And again, it is paint, it's not permanent. Well, it is permanent after a while, but it's nothing that you can't fix. It's not like a tattoo where you have to go over your tattoo and hopefully you're not going to screw it up too bad. But in either case, it's a different story. So you can see I painted the brown there with the Cygor Brown. I always called it Cyborg, but apparently it's wrong. It's Cygor. So again, see if he's in camera here, just so that you can see that I am painting here too as well. Just because he has that rope that's tied around his wrists. There we go. So again, that's all that I've noticed him, and I'm only going to do one coat. I'm just going to fix this up a bit to go around everything. And once I'm back, we'll go on with the next color. Before we go on with the next color, just to let you know, there is rope here, and there's also rope on that side that I got to paint. And anywhere else that I can see, I'm probably going to be doing his boots into the brown too as well, because I'm not going to paint the purple. I don't want to have purple boots. You can. And the hairs, again, we're probably going to be doing some customizing here and there, and also too as well, just to let everybody know what I'm doing. But I'm going to do this off camera because it's kind of boring that you have to watch this. But with this Cygor Brown, you can see his belt. Because I'm going to be going over that with gold, if I make a sloppy mess with that part, like, no big deal, because that gold color that I'm going to be using from Army Painter, because Army Painter got really, really, really good pigments, and because of that reason, I've been noticing that more, that Army Painter's got more pigments into it. I'm going to just fix it up with the gold, putting over top of the contrast. I'm not going to have any problems with it. So after I'm all done this and he dries, we'll be back with the next color. I promise this time. Well, I can't promise because I might break it. As I'm painting with the Cygor Brown, I did notice a couple of things on the card that I want to do. So what I did that was represented on the card is, if we kind of turn it around here, you can see into his sheath for his sword. The inside of it, I painted, there's like little triangles that I painted with the Cygor Brown, as well as his boots. And you can see here too as well is I continued the triangle accent around the back, and also too as well as in here for his belt, the underneath part is Cygor Brown, so I did that as well. And that's pretty much it that you can see there for the Cygor Brown that I noticed from his card. So now we are going to go on to the third color for this miniature. For the Dwarf, the next color that we're going to apply, I was going to do the purple, but I decided against this, and I'll explain why. We are going to be painting with, we're switching over to Army Painter now. It's a metal, we're doing plate mail metal. There, it's better in focus there. So with this, what we're going to do is any of the metal parts onto the Dwarf, like the plate metal, and everything. We're going to be painting. So again, it's going to be like his handle. I might even do that with lead belcher actually, but I don't think so. I'm going to keep it with plate metal. And this part of his axe, and you can see around his face, in his hair. So again, like for the plate metal, we don't know what he looks like behind, which is interesting. I've looked on the internet. I couldn't really find any drawings or paintings of what the dwarf looks like from behind. So we're just going to have to kind of guess it as we go along. So let's just apply this plate metal first. And where we're going to put it first, we're going to concentrate onto the top part of his head and his hair. And we're just going to continue on from that. So hopefully I'm going to be able to do this without my noggin in the way, with a little bit of watered down plate metal, just a little bit of water to it. And if we have to put it in a couple of thin coats, we do, no big deal. So this is going to be very careful. This is going to be very difficult for me to not get my noggin into the shot here. But he does have, this part here is gold. So aside from that, it is all metal, like plate mail metal. You just got to be very careful. I really do not want to get anything onto his hair or his face or anything. If so, again, you can just fix it by painting it with white. But right now, I'm just going very carefully with the plate mail metal around his face. And he also has the accents in his hair with it too that we're going to have to add. So just like this. Very careful, very careful. I think I just kind of screwed up his eye a little bit. Right there, you can see it. I got to fix that. I'll be back because that's bugging me. Alrighty, sorry about that. I just had to fix that part of the eye and it drove me nuts. And I started painting like his beard and that, and part of his hair. You can see off camera I painted though. No big deal. Still able to do that. Now, you can see his boots. He's got like spikes or something onto his boots. So we are going to add this to be all metal. Again, it don't show his feet. This is just a guesstimation. You can paint it whatever way you want, but I'm just painting it the way that I like it. And these are Shane's miniatures. Maniac Shane, because he purchased the whole Mystic Pledge level, and I told him I'll paint them for him just so that I can have some content on the channel and everybody else can see what's going on. And, you know, Shane kind of deserves it too for being on the channel for so long with me, as well as other Maniacs. You know, if they need help, I'll certainly try to help them. So you can see there, I painted the parts of his, the tips of his boots or what have you. Now, another thing what I'm going to do, now this is not showing on the card again, obviously because of the black, but you can see there's like all these little indents onto his the cloth or tunic or whatever you want to call it. I don't know the proper name. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this all silver, the plate mail metal. And the reason why I'm going to do that is you will see shortly why I'm painting it like that. So after I get all of the rest of the silver painted onto him, I'll be back and I'll show you exactly what I did so we can go on to the next step. Now that all of the silver is dry, and the reason why I wanted to paint this silver as well is because now we're going to change it up a little bit to make it look more like the picture somewhat. Again, I did say that we're going to try to stick as close as we can, but do a little bit of changes here and there, but not too much. But as you can see in there, his material mainly is purple. So because of that, what we're going to do is we are just going to use another little bit of contrast paint that we're going to put over the silver, and it's contrast Margot's purple. Magos or Margot's, there's no R, so Magos purple. I'm looking at my TV screen in front of me and it's obviously blurry, so oh, look at that, now I can see it. Wow. But we're going to put this over the silver part, and that way it's going to give off, I'm hoping, the luminescence a little bit of that it is still metal. He is wearing metal, but he's just not the traditional colors of the just having it silver. He wants it to have purple. So again, you can see there, this may take one or two coats, one or two, I mean 2 or 3 coats depending on how concentrated purple you want it to be, more so than the metal. Now, or you could just go over it with the purple itself and not put the metal down first. But it is armor, that I am saying it is anyhow. And because of that, our chainmail, I want to make it look metallic yet still purple, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'll finish painting all of the purple and then we'll be back. Hope you're enjoying this battle report. Just remember, if you want to become an official sponsor of Board Game Maniacs, head over to patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs to become an official sponsor, select one of the tiers, and get benefits that normal subscribers do not get. Check it out, links in the description. With all the purple done, I did roughly, it was 2 coats onto the purple, and you can see I painted it all over his armbands because I only originally wanted the purple inside the gaps, because this is going to be painted gold. And you can see there how the metallic, the silver underneath the purple is showing up there. The plate mail metal is showing up underneath the purple contrast paint, and I kind of like that. It gives it its own luminosity kind of, and I really like that. You can see I did put the purple down here too as well, because them triangles, I guess you want to call it that, I painted brown originally. I put purple over top of them, and this is going to be painted gold to trim, so I figured I just threw the purple onto it all, so it happened to be very neat and meticulous onto it, because I don't really need to do that right now. Meticulous is going to be the gold, which I'm doing now. So that is the color we are going to be painting next, is the gold. But before we start getting into it, I just want to let everybody know that when I was in the middle painting the purple and everything, kind of screwed up a bit. So you can see there, I put the white into the dwarf's pupils, and also I fixed up a little bit of the silver around his face, because I put white and then I let that dry and then put some more silver onto it, because I didn't like the way that looked, and some of the purple got a little bit messy, so I had to tidy that up. So just to let you know where we're at. That wasn't any of the other videos. Like his eyes are white now, not his pupil of his eyes. His pupils are black. Oh, but his eyes are white now, and that. So just so we're aware of that. So we're going to paint all the gold. And it's going to be, we're going to be painting with army painters. It's going to be greedy gold. I really like this color. The color is just awesome onto it. And where we're going to be painting at is obviously where you can see it in the picture. So his earrings, you know, the middle of his forehead, and the metal that's going around his wrists and so forth. So we're going to be painting all that with the gold. I'm going to start doing a little bit on camera, but probably not going to have to worry about too much of doing it on camera, because it's all the same. You know what color I'm using. There's no special techniques here that I'm doing, but I'll just start painting a little bit and we'll go from there. The first part of the gold that we're going to do is we're going to paint this part here. And if we looked onto, I'm just moving my hand out of the way. If we looked on this card, you can see the top part of his axe is gold, and he's got a little bit of trim here and so on. So we're going to concentrate first onto his axe for painting, and then we'll move on from there. So I just hope that I'm not in shot again, because I kind of stopped for a bit to have a little bit of something to eat because I was hungry. Anyhow, here we go. So right now we're just going to paint the gold, the greedy gold army painter onto this part here. It's kind of streaky, but I only had a little tiny bit on my brush though, because I've been noticing too, and somebody commented on one of my paintings too as well, that they love Army Painter because it is one of the most concentrated pigments paint out there. And from using it the little bit I've been using it, I can kind of see that, because it is just great with the way, you know, the gold looks and so on. So we're going to paint all that gold. We're going to do this part on camera. The rest we'll do off camera, because you don't need me to adding so much time to the painting video with me just painting the gold trim in that. But we're going to do his forehead part here, because in the picture, oh, I'm kind of in the shot there, sorry. In the picture, it's kind of like a wolf head or a dog head or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but it's some kind of creature bone that is here, and it has points onto it. So, oh, well, not in shot. Where do I move this over a bit so you can see it? Oh, I was just about to touch it. I did a little bit, but so it's like a V shape. So we're just gonna carefully try to paint that V shape. It goes into his hair, so, which is cool. Easier for blending. Just V shape on him, just like that, very carefully. And then again, the armor and everything else gets painted gold. Like hair is going to be painted gold, and there's like little accents on his axe that are going to be painted gold and so forth. So when I come back, we will show all the gold that is done. The greedy gold from Army Painter. Now with the gold all finished, for the time being, I may touch it up a little bit here and there. You can see like the dragon head. Let's kind of get focus there. I left the eyes white. And, you know, I dotted some white for the rings because I want them to be stones into it, just like into the picture that you can see right here. Now, the next step we're going to do is we're not going to touch the base yet, but we are going to paint this part here. And this is going to be done with the inside color is the lighter color. So it is going to be Army Painter's ash gray for the inside that you can see right here. And for the outer part, the darker gray is going to be uniform gray, and again, Army Painter as well. Now, with this though, I'm going to use the same thing to paint the bases too, but I have to put a wash and a highlight, so I'm kind of like, I don't like doing this a lot, but I'm going to use the paint once, put it away, and then use it again afterwards. I kind of like using that color just once, and then that is it. Like, I don't want to keep going back, but anyhow, that's a different story. So let's start with painting the lighter part first, which is the ash gray into the inside of the axe. The ash gray for the inside of the axe is the lighter of the two grays. So let's see if I can get in focus. That's a little better. And if I kind of make a little bit of a sloppy mess on this, which I'm just going to do anyhow, hope you can see that there, the light's not too bright. So because I'm doing the lighter color first, when I put the darker color on top, it's going to try to mask my horrible painting mistakes. So that's why I'm just going to go like that, just throw it on very easily. And I'm going to do the other side, let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and touch it up with the gray. And remember, these are all jewels. I'm going to paint them over with white and use contrast paint for that. So there's that. And then it's on the underside too as well. We can't forget that part. So again, like, you don't have to be all like super exact with this. I hope it's still on camera. Sorry, everybody. Because we're going to be going it over with the other color gray. So once that is done, we'll be back because it's so riveting to watch this part onto it. You can see I got the two different color grays, the ash gray and the uniform gray. Uniform gray being the outside, and the inner one is the ash gray on both sides. Now, one thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to record this on camera because I don't think you really need to see it, because all I'm doing is just taking different colors and dabbing them. And what I mean by that is anywhere where he has some kind of jewelry, you can see there on his rings, stuff like that. I'm just going to go in with different types of Army Painter color. You can use whatever color you want. Like, I might use a little bit of this Void Shield Blue, like bright colors that are going to represent like crystals or rubies or what have you. So you can pick whatever colors you want, and you don't really need to see that on camera, I don't think. I'm just going to go in with the paint and my brush like that and just go dab, and that'll be it. So when that is done, I'll be back, so we'll move on. Now with the stones paint that you can see there, just and you can see his knuckles too as well, painted stone, and on the other side, and I also did just some red into the eyes of the dragon head, and I used corn red for that, if anybody is wondering what color. No, not corn red, sorry, Mephiston red. Or no, my bad, jeez. I'm looking at the right thing. Corn red from Citadel, it is a base color. So I just use that, and again, these colors here, don't matter which colors you use, but in case anybody is wondering what colors I've used for the stones, I used this here. Citadel Araman Blue, I think that's what it is, and corn red, and this for the green, jungle green. Woohoo! All right, So now we're going to do the hair. Now I want to talk about the hair because in the card, as you can see, the hair is black. He has black hair, but I don't want to paint it black. I already was talking to Shane. I sent him a message like, hey, do you care what color the hair is, if it's black or a different color? He said, nope, that's fine. You do what you want. I trust your judgment, which is great because silly at the same time because Shane should never trust my judgment. But anyhow, I'm not going to paint them black. I'm actually going to use a contrast paint, which is Griffin Hound Orange. And we're going to do that for the hair because I think dwarves, I think they look cool with the orange hair myself, or red hair or what have you. Just not your standard normal color hair, so we're going to do that right now. So it's not going to be, but one thing, if you notice, if the light can compensate, so you can see there's some white underneath his or above his eyes, but underneath his plate. Now what I did with that is I just put white on there because I wanted to paint some eyebrows onto him, because in the picture it does show that he have eyebrows. So we're going to add some eyebrows to it. And because it was contrast, you just went over with white, just so that you could put the contrast color in. Ooh, I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go to the other one. This is going to be in focus enough. I'm sorry if it's not in focus. Gotta be very careful. There, just like that for his eyebrows. And now I'm gonna attack his beard and his hair with this translucent color, the contrast paint, just like that. Well, it's not even on camera. My bad. You just gotta be careful how much contrast paint you have on your brush at the time, because it can get a little sloppily messy. And I'm trying to avoid the silver clamps in his beard and that so forth. So just be careful of that, because you have to be very, very, very careful. I should have painted the silver afterwards into the beard if I really thought about it, but I didn't. But anyhow, I'm going to continue painting this. I'll be back when his beard and his hair is all done in the orange. That is it for the orange for his hair, and that kind of finishes all the base colors. Now what you could do is, you could, except for the base obviously, you could just paint the base and then call it a day and leave it like that. I think he looks pretty good like it is. And if we look at his card so far, besides the black hair, like, there we go, not in focus, but anyhow, I'd like it. I rather him with the fiery hair. But we're not going to stop there. We're just going to highlight some of his flesh a little bit just to bring it out. Because we use primarily contrast paints, we don't really need to use that much highlight to bring stuff out. And we still obviously are going to put a little bit of wash onto him and that. So I think the first thing we're going to do is just start throwing some wash in various spots. And then we're going to come in with the highlighting just like usual. So let's go with some washes now. First color, or first shade, or wash, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to do is we're going to do a 50-50 mix of water and Citadel's Recklin Flesh Shade. Now, just mix it up, 50-50 I put, because I only need a little bit for his skin. I dropped in 4 drops of this and 4 drops of water. And that was it for the water it down, because I don't want it to be too dirty, because he is already looking kind of grubby. And I just want to try to avoid around his eyes. Like, I like how dark his face is already. So just on like the tip of the nose here, it's going to touch up there. And then I'm just going to go over all of his skin tone everywhere else, except, again, for his face. So I'm trying to avoid the rings as much as possible. This is a 50-50 mix. Now, again, I'm not touching the base yet because I want to wash all the dry first before I touch the base, because I don't want any of the colors after I paint the base for the wash to kind of run down onto it, and it'll just make it look like messy and I'll have to repaint it. So I'm just not going to bother like that. I'll do the base after, just to save me some time in the long run. So again, you can see I'm just throwing some Recklin Flesh Shade onto, hopefully in camera, onto all the skin parts. Aside from his face, that is, because you can put it on his face, but his face is, you can only see a little tiny bit of skin coming through on his face, and it looks like it's in shadow anyhow. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it like that. I'll touch it up with a little bit of highlights, but you know, that's a half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. So we'll get to there. You can see it is all Reclam Flesh shaded up. So let's go to the next wash after this one is dry, or at least somewhat dry. I'm not trying to rush this, but again, we used Reclam Flesh Shade Citadel. And the next wash we're going to do is we're just going to put it on his beard. And for that, we are going to do straight out of the bottle Fuegan Orange. And it is shade by Citadel too as well. So once it's dry, we'll be back and apply that. I know I said once it's dry, but you know what? I didn't put anything on the face, so I'm not worried too much about where it's going to go, because I'm only doing a little bit just to kind of fill in the little cracks into his beard. So again, Fuegan Orange, Citadel shade. Just shaking this up here. You can probably hear it on camera. My voice is go because you really want to make this, really shake it up good so that you can see that there's no sediment in the bottom. And I'm not watering this down one bit. This is just coming straight out of the bottle like it is. Get the little bits off here and there. And again, I'm trying to avoid the silver that I put in his beard. So this is gonna fill in a lot of the, give a little bit more dimension, because when it settles in, it's going to fill into them little cracks and everything. You just got to be careful how much you put onto it, because if you put too much, it's going to run down. It's going to mix in with all the other colors. And that would kind of ruin all that hard work that you've done so far. So you just got to, I'm not even on camera, you just got to be a little bit wary of where you are placing it and how much. Just like any other paint, really. But once that's done, we'll be on to the next color. The next wash we are going to use none other than Old Faithful himself, Agrax Earth Shade, but it is mixed with a 50-50 mix of water. You can see it kind of in here. I only need a little tiny bit because I'm only applying this mixture wash or whatever to all the other parts, like the gold and like the purple and that, but nothing I'm putting on, when I say purple, I mean just purple on his shoes, or boots I should say. I'm not touching the purple onto his armor because I want to keep that metallic look. So where I'm doing the purple, or I mean the Agrax Earth Shade 50-50 mix with the water, is pretty much everywhere else, like the gold. You can see here, I'm applying it to the gold. I'm on camera? Yeah, I'm on camera. All right, good. His sword case, and also too as well, is up here, up here with this axe and the dragon's head. Like pretty much everywhere that you didn't put wash on yet, except for the luminosity of his purple armor, we're gonna put this Agrax Earth Shade, leave it dry, and then we'll be back. So hold on to your axe. With the wash almost dry, I'm going to go ahead, this is going to be off camera too, because I'm only painting with uniform gray. The base is completely solid. You don't really need to see that. And again, in the future, if there's steps that you would like me to see doing when I'm painting miniatures like that, I just start and then I skip, like you don't need to see me do that. If you want to see the whole thing, just comment below and let me know. And when I am painting the miniatures, I'll take my time and I'll record more. Just I want to keep the video length of this down a little bit, because I do tend to ramble on and on. Excuse me, hiccups again. So yes, off camera I'm painting uniform gray onto the base itself. And the rim is going to be black. Black. Matte black for the rim. Same thing, Army Painter, war paints. Now that the wash is on and the base is painted the uniform gray, I didn't paint the rim yet black, so we'll do that later. But right now what I'm going to do is we're going to concentrate on a little bit of the highlights here and there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to touch onto his flesh to brighten up some spots, like to give him a little bit more muscle tone value. And the color we're going to be using for that is none other than Tanned Flesh by Army Paint, War Paint. So let's go do some highlighting on his flesh. Starting off for his highlighting now, I'm only going to just do some very brief light highlights. It's not going to be something that's going to really stand out a whole lot. And the reason why this is because I'm letting the contrast paint kind of do most of the work that I put onto it for his skin. So you can see there, I'm just, maybe if it was in focus a little better, you can see there that I added the highlights if I turn the light a little bit. So that's kind of what we're doing there. And you can see like the muscles into his arm. I'm just picking out spots and I'm just highlighting them here and there with that tanned flesh color, just where I think that the lights should be popping, to seeing like the peaks of his arms and everything else, just like that, you can see. And because I use the contrast paint, I kind of like to go as light as possible with the highlights in most of it. The reason being is because if I wanted to do like super highlights and everything else to him, then why am I putting contrast paint onto him in the first place? Because that kind of gets rid of the contrast or the highlights, like the idea for putting the highlights down. I should say, geez, I don't even know what I'm saying now. I'm just rambling, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, by using contrast, it kind of cuts out the step of the highlights. But I'm still going to add them in just a little bit like I am there. Very little here and there. So when the highlights are all done on just the skin only, we'll be back and take a gander at it. Now that the highlight of the skin is done with the tan flesh, you can see all I did is I just pretty much outlined all of the bulgy muscles, I guess, and I left that undertone of the skin wash and so forth show through in all the little crevices. Like usual, the wash is working properly, and I touched a little bit onto his nose there with it. Now the next color we're going to use to highlight is we're going to highlight his hair a little bit, and to do that we are going to use Army Painter's Dry Rust. I know it's not orange, but hey, might work. I don't know, I'm just going here, just winging it because I don't have another one to paint off camera first. So all you're seeing here is just original design work at the start. Well, not original design work, but copying. That's probably a better way of saying it. So to do this anyhow, what we're going to do is first off is I got a little bit on my brush, and after we're the little bits on my brush, what we're going to do is we are going to just kind of go over slightly with some wisps following the indents of his hair, and maybe a little bit of dry brush too as well on top of that. When I said it's not orange, it is orange, the rust color, but it's a different color orange. But anyhow, a little bit on my brush, and all I'm doing is I'm looking for like the raised parts that, get it in focus, there we go. The raised parts of his hair, like the bumps and so forth, and I'm just kind of accenting it slightly. You can use the edge of your brush if you want, just to kind of trace the lines as carefully as possible. Like I'm using the tip, but kind of like with the edge of my brush, if that makes sense. Now, I'll do that. And when that's done, we'll be back to show you the difference. With the dry rust orange color put on top of the head, just again, very slight. You can't see too much of a difference, but it's going to pop it a little bit more, because what we're going to do now is we're going to use matte white and we're going to dry brush over top of the hair. And we're only going to use a little bit of the white to do this. And the reason why is because we don't want it to take over too much, to be overpowering, but we don't want the highlights to be not noticeable too. So dry brushing is I just, put some matte white onto it, and then I wiped it off. And now I'm going to start with the back part of his hair. Right there. Just again gently going over it, just to bring out some slight highlights into his hair. And what I mean by slight highlights is I'm just hitting the parts of the hair that are brought up again too as well, just to give it a little bit more variation, color variation. So I was going to say like different, I don't know what I was going to say. Anyhow, I'm just going to continue dry brushing this and I'll be back. It's getting late. With the dry brush of the white matte done to the, to the orange part of it, you can see there what I did is I wasn't a big fan, so I kind of watered down half and half of this Fugan orange to the little shade again, and I went over top of the white dry brush and did tone it down a bit. You can see the white still showing through, but it's more orange, and that's what I was going for. So I just had to do that, and I did it off camera unfortunately. And again, after that, I did some dry brushing just here with the white onto the blade part itself mostly, and that is it. So while this beard wash is drying, we're going to take some of the Agrax Earth Shade undiluted right at the pot, and we are going to go on and just do all of the base itself, just like this. No big deal, because we're going to want to highlight the base too as well. And remember, we still got to paint the rim black when we're done, so just keep going like this. On camera, good, on camera, all right. So, you know, put a little bit more onto the silver part of his boots, because it was a little too bright, but I like that. And you can see here, I'm just throwing a little bit more of this Agrax undiluted shade into the little tiny bit of his markings onto his axe, just to kind of bring them out a little bit more, make them recess more, I should say, not bring them out. And same with the gold, just adding some little spots, more wash. I noticed, you know, like, hey, I could probably darken up here just a little bit. I'm just selectively just going through and doing that. No big deal, pretty easy. And you can see there, that is nice. I like that. So once this is dry, we're going to come back and we're going to paint the rim of the base, and we're going to do the final highlights, and we're going to call this Dwarf done. Well, his name isn't going to be done, but he's going to be finished being painted. We're on the last final leg of painting this, not his leg, but you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do for this is we are going to just do some highlight dry brushing on the base, and then the rim's going to be painted black. I'm going to do that off camera. It's matte black, and you know, it's pretty easy. The gray we're going to use is the same color gray that we use for the inside of this, which is going to be the ash gray for the highlighting over top of the uniform gray. So I'm just grabbing my ash here, and again, we just on camera it'd be better. So what we're going to do is, instead of dry brushing, we're kind of like dabbing along, like, I'm even off camera, holy crap, just like this. And the reason why is because we want to create that dirty concrete floor look without putting texture paint on it. So again, all we're doing is we're just going around, a little bit of ash gray onto the brush, and we are dabbing it or stippling the ash gray color onto it. And off camera again, jeez. Except for the edges, we're going to do that gray. Like, we're going to dry brush the gray around the edges. Just like that. I'm not looking at my monitor, which I should be. All right, and same thing with this. We're going to just go over that dry brush lightly, just with the same ash gray, just to give a little bit of highlight to it as well. Nothing too dramatic, but that's about it. So I'm just gonna paint it off camera, the rim of the base, and then we'll be back for our closing thoughts. Well, there you have it, Board Game Maniacs. That is the Dwarf from the remake of the HeroQuest game for 2021. I hope you enjoyed this painting tutorial. Comment below and let me know what you thought about it. If there's anything I can do to improve it, including my painting skill too, obviously. And also too, so what I would like you to do is comment below and let me know who from the core box you would like to see me paint next on camera, if any. Is it going to be the wizard, or is it going to be the elf? Because I want to get like the main core characters done, and then I'll concentrate on like the expansions. And on top of the expansions, I also want to concentrate too as well is like the bad guys into it all too as well. So just comment below and let me know what you would like to see me paint next, and just what you would like to see me paint period for this. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun painting this Dwarf. I really liked the sculpts, and I love the nostalgia of the old sculpts too as well, obviously, but I do like that they did upgrade this, and I cannot wait until we get it to the board and start playing this game all over again, possibly using the app. Comment below and let me know if you'd like for us to use the app. There've been a couple of people commenting already and emailing saying, yes, use the app and play it again, please, because we'd love to see you play this again with all the other Maniacs that were involved in the first one. So this is what we're going to try to do, but before we get to that point, we have to get all of them painted because I don't want to have any naked miniatures, especially HeroQuest naked miniatures, in the game. And there's going to be a huge special treat that's going to be coming up on Board Game Maniacs too as well. So stay tuned for that too. But again, it's going to be for a while yet because I'm still in the midst of planning everything out, but I will keep you updated. Right now, it's top secret. I can't tell you what it is. So until next time, Board Game Maniacs, play some HeroQuest. Let me know what you played, how you played it. Comment below and let me know what you thought about this game. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you like this and you want to see more content too as well. And on top of that, and that is, don't forget to be a maniac when you play HeroQuest or any other board game for that. So we'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to keep up to date with Board Game Maniacs, click on the like and subscribe button to be notified when more videos come available. If you want to become an official sponsor of Board Game Maniacs, go to patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs. Or you can go to streamlabs.com/BoardGameManiacs1. That's right, and you can donate to help keep the lights on, keep food in our bellies, and play more games. We'll purchase more games, more equipment to make Board Game Maniacs evolve and get bigger and larger because of you, the viewers. I thank you from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head for all of your support. And until next time, Board Game Maniacs, be a maniac.